If you've got a large account and you're creating big campaign for clients, you can charge good few £1,000s for a simple video.
Welcome to the Hospitality Podcast.
Where's the lamb sauce?
Come on, man.
I just need it.
This is the lamb.
Where's the lamb sauce?
Presented by Arthur Gomez.
God damn, I just spent $8,000 on some fucking wine.
And Quentin Wind.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
So pour yourself a glass because we're diving into the world of restaurants, kitchen and bar. The Hospitality Podcast.
Hey, welcome back, guys.
Hello.
We're back again with a new guest.
Yeah, and this one is quite special. We haven't tackled that subject before, and he's a big food influencer.
Yeah.
He goes under the name of Ollie Eats.
Quite a special guest, very different than when we receive a chef or a sommelier, a bartender or a pastry chef.
Yep.
This time it's a food influencer.
Exactly, and not any food influencer. What he does is quite special. No one does exactly what he does.
We're going to ask a lot of questions. Don't forget to leave us a little review on Spotify, Apple Podcast. And welcome, Ollie.
Welcome, Holly.
Very much for having me.
Oh, no, thank you for coming. Yeah. Coming from, 45-minute train, so we're really very grateful for you to come.
No problem at all.
To do the journey. Let's start with a little question on how did you become a food influencer?
Oh, that is going straight in there. I would say it was. I started taking photos of my dinner before it was cool, and everyone was laughing at me. But I thought, no, I'm gonna give it a go. So that was back when it was Facebook. So this was before Instagram and before TikTok.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So way back when, and so this was when you had like a sort of like Facebook groups that you would like submit a photo of your dinner, and then people would critique it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was.
Was it back then when you had like the thumbs up and the thumbs down?
Yeah. So and
before they removed it.
And then people definitely let you know how it was if they liked it or not back then.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah.
that's really good.
Did you start at the beginning from a chef career or you had another career before? What was your first job?
I haven't got any sort of like a professional chef background or anything like that. I started my career was in hairdressing actually. So I was a hairdresser for 18 years.
Whoa,
so
nice.
Apart from doing the odd like bit of waitering before I had my when I was still at school, that was it. I wanted to be a hairdresser. I left school, went straight into it, and then worked all my way up to be a director of a salon. Absolutely fantastic industry and career. Yep. And it was only when my account started, really growing and I monetized it, then I could make the choice to, give up a fantastic career but gain a new one.
That's good.
So did you start it during the when you were cutting hair basically, so as a hairdresser?
Yes, absolutely. So I just started it. I think I learned social media, so marketing and advertising on sort of like online, because I was a hairdresser. Mm-hmm. It was like how you started promoting yourself as a young student. So I sort of got to know the platforms. So when I sort of migrated into creating food content, it was quite an easy migration because I already knew the back end sort of reason of how it all worked. And but that was what sort of spurred me on to start off with, was the sort of like the photography and the artistry around cooking. I got into cooking a little bit before that. I moved out very young. I moved out at 18. So I just had to fend for myself, really, So, I'd done my first 6 months on microwave meals and realised that you can't live off of them. Yeah. And, then started to learn how to cook, which was something that was really cool. I've still got very, very fond memories of that.
Yeah, of course.
Since the beginning, you're doing like some reel where you're cooking some food, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. It was for me when I first started getting into cooking and then sort of eventually into documenting it, was cooking big meals for my friends. My friends, like I said, I had my own apartment. They would pretty much just stay at my house. We'd go out, drink a lot. They would stay over, and then I started my first sort of like cuisine that I got sort of known for was my breakfasts. And for me, it was like the full English breakfast, and they were massive, and they were greasy, and they were fantastic, and it's exactly what everyone wanted, on a Sunday morning.
Mm. Oh, amazing! Especially after a hangover, I guess.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
That's amazing. When you start an account, it can be kind of like tiring to see that it takes a long time to get noticed.
Oh, yes.
So how did you manage to push yourself until you became like where you're at now?
I would just say hard work and dedication. Yes, I'm very privileged to be doing this full time now. As you know, the easiest way to describe me is as an influencer. You know, there's other words like content creator, but that's the general term that most people sort of understand. I've been full time 2.5 years. But I have posted, I think, 3,800 times.
Oh my wow!
And that each of those is either a recipe, it's a restaurant review, it's a day out and it's excursion. So that's the sort of the volume that I was operating on. Now, for me, how I describe sort of like my account and how it operates, it's a bit like a steady Eddie. I've been doing this now about 8.5 years, and I've just seen consistent small growth, month on month. Where some people post 4 times and they skyrocket to stardom. So every account's different, but I think it's perseverance, because to start off with, the platforms don't know where your account sits. It doesn't really know what type of content you're creating, doesn't know what audience that would like to see your content.
Of course.
And it's all just maths and numbers, and it just means that getting that volume of content out there, you will then be able to, it will start logging it to your audience, and then eventually you'll start seeing that traction come through. So, post frequently is probably my biggest advice I can give.
With patience as well.
And patience, yes. Yeah. Especially if you're doing these massive recipes, or, you've done this fantastic, arty photo or video, and then about 4 people sees it. It's hard, and it still happens even at my account. The numbers are obviously a different scale, but it's still soul destroying if I do a video and it doesn't perform very well, especially if I put my heart and soul into it. But that is social media, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so, at what stage you realize, so now I can quit my job and start working like 100% for this?
Yeah, that was a very scary jump. That was. So I'm married, I've got children, and I had lots of responsibility, and I've got young children as well. So there was when I started monetizing the account. So how for anyone who doesn't really understand, so an influencer monetizes their account by sort of brand deals is predominantly how you would bring in income. And that's when a brand sees your account, they like your aesthetic, they like your target audience, and then you would then be invited to join in on a campaign that will showcase their new product in a light. You would either do a recipe, etc. with it. So that started coming in like little drips and drabs, but more like pocket money. But then, it got to a point I started seeing regular income, and then it was, then going obviously all official and doing all of the boring stuff, the back end, and incorporating and all that sort of stuff. And I probably could have made the leap a year before I did, but I was scared. It was very scary, and especially with being the sole breadwinner and got the mortgage and everything like that. So I had a whole year of running a busy business and also running a full column being a hairdresser.
Wow. And a dad.
Yeah. It was a crazy year. And it was the year before lockdown. We all hate mentioning that, but it was a big old thing. And it was, I think for me, and why I wanted to mention that is that you always see, like, a lot of people think that being on social media is never going to last. And I thought my hairdressing career was going to be it was going to stay. It was evergreen. And then that situation happened a couple of years ago. And I couldn't cut hair, but I could cook at home and post online. Yeah. And it was a crazy realization that actually this method of advertising and marketing is here to stay and could be potentially at the time more profitable than what I was doing before.
Of course, yeah. So would you say like COVID in a way, it's not very positive to say that, but it came at the right time for you?
It did. It gave me brain space. It gave me head space. And I think, I loved hairdressing, but it was... And very similar hours to, other hospitality, industries, which was you're in the mornings, you're up at night, you're doing the weekends. And, I didn't have a chance to really put a plan in place. So just having that little bit of time just to reflect, catch up with my wife, because you're just busy in life, really, aren't you, normally? And discuss things and come up with a plan. I then put it in place. I utilised that time off really, really well. And then I did continue for another sort of 8-9 months, but then I knew I was ready to make the leap. Yeah. And but I left in a really nice way as well. I gave a massive notice. I passed all my... Cause again, I love the industry. And I passed all my clients over because I've known them for years. Of course, so 18. Over to the right people and left with, handshakes and parties. And it was a really nice exit. How you want to leave an industry and go into a new one.
That's good. And 2 very different industries.
Yes, indeed, yes.
And so in terms of followers, what is the let's say one of the listeners is maybe an influencer, or start to be an influencer, or you want to be an influencer. At what time can you expect to earn some money? Let's say, I don't know, like maybe 20,000 followers, maybe?
The cap, you mean?
Yeah, in terms of cap, yeah.
A lot less than that. So when I was going through the ranks, the big benchmark was 10,000. You know, that was when you started being recognised by... So again, a little bit of like back end of how it works is you've got like PR agencies that are in charge of influencer outreach. So they've got their members of staff out there schooling the internet, schooling the social media pages for these new fresh accounts. So, but you do need a followership, so you do need some numbers. And at the time it was around 10,000 was the benchmark. I think that's when I got my first paid job. Now it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It really doesn't. You know, you could have 2,000 followers and still be monetized. You can... For various reasons. So one, the platforms themselves can provide monetization. So with TikTok, for instance, they have, if you create, you do have to have, I think it is over 10,000 followers, and you do need to be posting a certain consistency per month. But every video that you create over a minute long is monetized. So you can gain money from that. But when it comes to brand deals, no, if your aesthetics right, your values are right, you're authentic, you know, a couple of thousand followers, you could definitely be, you know, definitely being invited to places, receiving complimentary gifts and stuff like that. So, yeah, you should never be worried about the numbers. No. Just focus on the quality and the consistency of your work, and the work will come to you.
Yeah, amazing. It's good to hear that.
Yeah.
I started my own account, something quite different on social media, so I'm taking it all in.
Oh yeah,
it's a family affair.
Yeah, it's a family affair. But yeah, it's great to hear, because it's these kind of things that you don't really, you know, when you're on YouTube or Instagram and people are you know, telling you stuff, and you never know if they've been paid to say that kind of thing, and you never. You want to ask, you know, directly to the person and see eye to eye if he's telling the truth, or, you know, and from, you know, how you say it, you can see it's from your bottom of the heart, and yeah, it's just really relieving to hear that. I mean, it's motivating.
Yeah. I think nowadays, in particular, I think if you would have asked me a few years ago, I would be saying the numbers are everything.
Okay.
I would be saying it's about high levels of engagement. It's about having 10, 20, 30,000 followers. And I wouldn't even think about it before those numbers.
Of course.
It's different now. And it's different because exactly what you've mentioned, authenticity, you know, people not being authentic, people lying, creating bad content, manipulating their accounts. And I think that we've gone through that generation now of polished. We've gone through that where people don't want that now. If you look at the people really coming through the ranks very quickly, now they're not using high production. You know, they're shooting on their phones, they're shooting in selfie modes, you know, their audio's rubbish, they're authentic, it's raw, and that is what people want now. Yep. So that's what I would say would be what people need to focus on, is just finding an identity and a value point that they really believe in, and just pushing with that. Because one, you're likely to create content at a much larger scale because it's something that you wholeheartedly believe on inside.
Of course.
And, you know, people will resonate with that. I think that's, and I can see it sometimes now, even in my content with my numbers, you know, it's I'll do this super recipe and I'll shoot in all these cool angles, or I will just explain a condiment in selfie mode and it will blow up. And
doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, but all it shows is that people are screaming out for raw authenticity.
Okay.
Yeah. And so now, do you travel a bit more sometimes, like in, you know, a different country to try some food? Or?
I do, yeah. So this is a new bit. So with all accounts, there is like a scale of things. Obviously, I'm still like wowed of where I'm at the moment. You know, it's still get humbled, but like, yeah, I am now moving into the next phase, which is,
cool.
You know, some really cool things. I would say 2 years ago, I'd done probably my bestest tour I've ever done. So what I'm known for is the kebab series. So the kebab series is something that I focus on where it's predominantly around Middle Eastern and Mediterranean cuisine.
Okay.
And I started off doing it as just to showcase that there's other cuisine apart from the drunken kebab. I realise that lots of people want to see drunken kebabs, but there's also, you know, a plethora, as you all know, of dishes. So I started doing a series on talking about it and getting people, you know, that would normally just go to their local like Mangal restaurant that would order a mixed grill to actually go in there and try these wonderful different meals. And it was a very successful series. I think it clocked and still clocking, I think, around 28 million views.
Oh, wow.
As a series, yeah. And so I predominantly featured like local restaurants, and then went into London. And then I had the opportunity to work with the Turkish Tourism Board and the Michelin. And
Michelin Guide.
Yes.
Nice.
And then I went over to the launch of the Michelin in Istanbul.
That's so cool.
It was amazing because it was so cool to see these chefs that are doing wonderful things with that cuisine, that it was their first time in their eyes. Because as you know, if you're in the industry, the Michelin Guide and the Michelin star system it's the mecca, isn't it? It's the top. So watching this first ever time that the awards would be in that country and seeing these chefs win and how joyous they were, and then getting to sample their food was such a memorable experience.
I can imagine.
And I really want people to see what Middle Eastern cuisine is in a refined way or a different way, because it is what they're doing over there is incredible, and I really want to see. And we are seeing it with restaurants that are opening up, and they are nailing the elevated sort of side of things.
Yeah.
That isn't just commercialized fusion. It's they understand the heritage, and they understand sort of like the root of that dish, but they're taking it to the next level, and seeing it grassroots there was a truly incredible experience.
Wow, that's great. So you're doing a bit of travel as well with your work.
Yes.
And so when you're doing this, is like a partnership you're doing with a PR agency, or like, for example, this time the Michelin Guide.
Yes.
Is there any time where you refuse some partnership because you don't really
yourself
agree
with
with the value?
Yes, absolutely. So, in small scale and large scale. So, on the small scale, I am very humbled that I get invited to a lot of restaurants. But I have a belief where I don't do, the only series I do a review, so you talk about food reviewing, is my kebab series.
Yeah,
because I feel that, one, I've learned to cook these dishes. I've experienced them, in the hundreds, and I feel that I've got at least some understanding and skill set to be able to give a review.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's the same with, say, French cuisine or Italian cuisine. So what I tend to be is a restaurant showcaser.
Yeah.
So I will look at these restaurants if they sort of fit the bill of my core beliefs, ethoses, and also aesthetics, or if the content's going to perform well.
Yeah.
That's when as soon as I say yes, I'm working on behalf of that restaurant.
Yeah, I love that because, like we were talking about before, in terms of Instagram, now you see stuff which is not true, and it's all, paid promotions and all that. And you see so many food influencers who they do reviews, but they don't have any background or anything to back up, and you're just like, how can you review something and you probably don't know how to cook, you probably haven't spent that much time in the hospitality industry, and just how can you, it just doesn't make sense for me, and it's just all these paid, all these restaurants that are paying influencers to come in, and it's just to do a video and that's it, and it works obviously, but for me it doesn't work for me because I know behind that person is probably working at a desk, or I don't know, it has nothing to do with hospitality. And the fact that what you just said is, you filter with with your knowledge and match it with the restaurant that is asking to get reviewed. I found that amazing.
Well, yeah, you need to. And I think, like, if I've had a dish that, say, missed, I then work it out in my head, like, is this personal opinion? Is this just my taste don't like it? Or if it has missed, I'm like, right, I'm going to go home and try and cook this. And then just to see, the skill level, because as we know, and I think, French cookery is a prime example of this, and Italian cookery is like, the simplest dish can sometimes be the hardest to create.
Of course.
And I think it's having that understanding. And yeah, I will happily showcase restaurants that I don't have necessarily the background knowledge.
Of course.
And because, again, I am first and foremost in marketing and advertising, and I am very transparent with that. So if you look at, my account and all of my videos, it will clearly be labelled if it's been gifted, if it's If it's an invite, if it's a paid promotion, I don't try and hide it. And again, in my voiceovers and in the captions as well. So, and this is where it differs. So I'm happy to showcase these restaurants because it's an advert. Now, if for instance my experience falls below what it should be, then I just don't post. I will speak to the restaurant and just be like, look, it was a bad day, something went wrong. Either let's reevaluate it, or it just is not going to make the cut. One thing I will never do is I will never slam hospitality online.
You never post a negative review?
No.
Okay.
No. There will be, I might mention some like small things, you know, like maybe if something's just a little bit off, but I will never do an intentional review that's negative.
Okay.
Because they work, people love them, and it's dangerous.
Oh, of course.
You know, and I've even seen it where, you know, they'll be invited via, say, Instagram, and then they will slam it on TikTok.
Yeah.
It can be the Wild West out there, and but I just think I just stick to my lane. You know, the people around me have a respect for the hospitality industry, and I just try and, you know, align myself with those, you know, those people and those beliefs, because there's fantastic things, and I've got so many case studies of small restaurants that I visited that, off the back of my publication, have managed to not just survive, like thrive, you know, and going into the outer boroughs of London, into these smaller places and these more community-led things. And there's some fantastic other influencers as well. It's not just me that have, put some of these places on the map, all just from, you know, doing a video online. So it is a powerful tool. And I think that when you do get to scale, you just need to be conscientious of how you use that power. And for me, it's to use it for good. And everyone has bad days. And you can just have a small talk offline.
Of course.
And you can rectify these things very, very easily.
Yeah. I think you're completely right. I saw like a reel, I think it was a few months ago, with a food influencer in London as well. And she's like smashing a very famous restaurant in London,
oh, yeah?
You know, on Piccadilly. And like the comments was crazy, because there was like maybe 20% of people saying like, oh, it's not true, I'm a regular there, it's always very nice. And 80% of people who I'm sure they've never been in this restaurant, but because they trust, you know, the vision of the food influencer, they're like, oh, thank you, we're supposed to go with my husband next week, but we just cancel our booking. Oh, yeah. And I feel like this for like a restaurant, well, it's not a small business, the restaurant I'm talking about, but still, imagine if a small business,
it can ruin someone's life completely.
Yeah.
Like
so I think, when you say like the social media are so powerful, 100%. I think it's kind of scary, because at a certain point you can use it very much for your business, and it's great to grow your business. But at the same time, it can go down so fast just for a reel or a video, or like just a comment.
Yeah, it's hard. I think also with being a creator on the platform, the problem at the moment is that sensationalism is sales. So, you know, you have to, if you want your videos to perform, it needs to have some sort of hook. It needs to have some sort of statement at the beginning. And I think it's about finding that fine line of creating a degree of emotional provocatism to get people engaged, because our aim is to stop people scrolling.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that is so hard. You know, the average watch time on a video could be like 0.3 seconds.
Oh, wow. That's not a lot.
That's how quickly you've got to catch them. And that means that you do have to, you know, orchestrate your video edit and your voiceover to catch that attention. So, and that's why, like, mentioning, you know, price to start off with, or was it worth it, or some sort of like hook. But where do you stop? And I have to ask myself that question as well, you know, and I know what will work, and sometimes I'm like, shall I do that or shall I not? It's a hard dilemma, you know, because that's my lifestyle. I need these videos to work. I need them to perform, especially if there's payment behind them. So I think it's just finding that balance. It's like anything, isn't it? Find balance between creating something that's going to provoke an emotion, but it's not going to be a lie or a detriment to the business that you're
Makes sense.
So now that you're living off of it,
yes,
and it's been 2 years,
two and a half years, yeah.
Have you got a team now with other people with you? Or?
I have, yeah, and this is all very new for me as well. So things are accelerating very quickly. So I have an agent I have I have more than one agent. I've got a whole team of agents, and then they have a whole team that they operate within.
Okay.
Which has been incredible. It's been really, really good. The thing is with content creating influencer, it's not really regulated. So no one really knows what you should charge, what the value is, all of those types of things. And I was grossly undercharging for my services. And I didn't know that at the time. Because again, I was still humbled getting invited places, and it was just cool. Like I get to cook and go places and make money. It's awesome. But then there's also I have a family to feed, and there is a job, and everyone wants to do well in their life. So when I got signed and the agency explained about everything and how you cost things and stuff like that, it blew my mind. Because
it was very different,
hugely.
Yeah. Wow.
Would you be able to say a percentage of like?
Oh, I was probably 50-60% off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, because what I didn't realise is that I saw it as just like one asset.
Okay.
So say you had a restaurant, you'd get me in, I'd create a video, I would then post it, and then I'm like, cool, well, I can't really use that bit of footage again, it's done. So have it, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, there's usage rights, there's advertising rights, there's static images, there's reposting it, there's all these different elements to it that. And again, I think this is where the PR companies have kind of exploited, again, in my own opinion, is that they sort of know that we don't really know the rights and everything like that.
Yeah.
So they might only pay us, a certain amount of money for that video, but then they're putting it as a major nationwide advertising campaign. And they've managed to get a video for maybe a couple £100, and they've put 30, 40, 50,000 pound advertising behind it and boosted it to nationwide. Yeah. So you don't really know these types of things. So, having a team with me now, they can negotiate these contracts and work out where it sort of sits. So everyone's happy in the end of the day. They're getting their assets, they're getting their distribution, and I'm getting accurately, paid for what I've created.
Okay, and who's in that team? Do you have a editor or
no?
How does it work?
So I still do everything. So I have now brought on my first internal team member.
Okay.
Shout out Nicole if she's listening. So she is. I firstly brought her on to do a bit of admin, just to help me out with the back end sort of things, because we'll probably end up getting on to. I've got some other arms of hospitality that I operate in as well, and then she kind of liked. She was quite inquisitive about what I do outside of things, so I got her on board. She started doing some filming for me, and she's absolutely loving it now. So she's like sort of second in command, sort of like my teammate,
Nice.
Full time?
She's part time at the moment,
part-time,
and we're just trying to work out a way of sort of utilising her and potentially bringing her on full time. I would say probably not there yet.
Yep.
One for work amount that you need to do, but then secondly it's still my baby. I love editing. I love filming. I've got my style. And I've been a one-man band now for nearly a decade. Yeah. So I'm quite self-sufficient. And I'm having to learn delegation, which is really, really hard.
It's difficult.
It's one of the hardest things when you have a business. It's delegating.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Bits of your baby.
Yeah, so I'm learning that. But she's a close family friend, and she's doing a fantastic job. So I'm really happy with that.
Oh, and in terms of the agency, how did they find you? Or
yeah,
because I guess you get contacted quite often by different agencies. So how do you choose the right one? And
really good question.
That
That's a really, really good question. I've been approached by agencies year upon year because it is an investment going with an agency, because obviously they take quite a large chunk of the pie. Rightly so, because they've got quite an important job within everything. Why the agency I picked? Do you know what it was? Was Libby, who's my my manager agent? She personally reached out. So rather than just sending a mail shot or just an email generic. Or something generic sort of thing, she wrote a personalised DM to me, and then invited me into the office, and that kind of just made it a little bit felt a bit special. Do you know what I mean? It felt it was personal. Yeah. It showed that they mean business, because again you get a lot of people and don't get me wrong, respect the hustle, that might be a startup agency or one-man band and stuff like that. But that was me as I was doing that. So to come in and see the agency, see all these people and how happy they were. It's a fantastic agency called Connect Management, and they're hungry, they're young, they love being at work, they love the industry, they know it so well. For early 20-year-olds. Yeah, I'm in my late 30s now, and it's just sort of like, when I met these guys, I was like, oh, are they the right guys for me? And I was like, yeah, actually they are. I need that hungriness. They're out there, they're selling me. They're hustling for me, and it works. So yeah, hopefully they like me, because we're in just coming up to the 6 months sort of probation.
Of course.
But looking at how it's going, I'm very happy.
See the difference.
I see the difference massively, and they help me with the day to day. And one of the biggest thing that an agent does is handle the minefield of contracts. So
they're checking all the contracts before signing, etc.
Yeah, and they're big and they're extensive, and it's a really, really important thing. And I got stung over very heavily in the early stages, just by not knowing what all of this terminology was. Because a lot of the things is non-competes and exclusivity rights. So you might go, oh, wow, this brand wants to work with me. And then you sign away. And then you can't work with another brand in that sector for a certain amount of time.
Wow.
Okay. Right. And that's just a small bit. It can be big. So, I signed some ones where 6 months. So I'd done one little job. Wow. Made a couple £100, and I couldn't work again for 6 months.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and it's all negotiable, but it's a minefield. I have no legal background. Yeah. I cut hair, and I loved it, and. I had to learn how to send emails when I got into this industry. You never think about the admin sort of side of things. I started cooking. I loved cooking, so I could cook, I could video, and then I've got all this new admin stuff, which I was like, what the hell is that about? So, for me, it was, getting an agent just to go through all of that and be able to go like, no, yes, and streamline the communication. Like they go, they start off with, they're like, how do you like to communicate? Over the phone, email, WhatsApp. And I was like, WhatsApp's brilliant. Send me voice notes, super casual, great. So I do all of my business chats with them via that way. And then they do all the formal stuff on the back end. Okay. And it just works, streamlined the whole process. And it's absolutely fantastic.
Nice.
So now, do you still have to find some partners? Or now is the partners are coming to you? To your agent?
Yes, yeah. So I do both, and I always will be. Like, I think I've just done it on my own so long, and I like it as well. Like, it's networking. Like, you guys emailed me. I was like, oh, yeah, amazing, it's a podcast. Want to come on a podcast? Like, and I was speaking to someone earlier, and I love greenlighting projects as well. So for me, I'm always going to be involved, and they know that, and they're great with that. We've got a fantastic communication relationship, and so they just handle sort of the back end. So it would be like a company will go, right, we want to work with Ollie, and then they start the conversation and the back and forths and stuff like that. So what I tend to do, which is it's a great position me, which is I do all the networking, I tee stuff up, pass it over to those guys, and then they do all of the back end sort of stuff. So it's really good. But yeah, it's good that and they find me work as well. So they've got a team. Well, they've got more now. It's over 35 people that are out there. Looking for work. They've got their own clients. They can cross over. It's a fantastic network that I'm now part of.
It kind of accelerates sort of the income basically because they find you more jobs. Basically.
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah. So the frequency of work is increased. The income generated has increased, and the workflow as well, which is great.
And do they propose you other how would you say it segments of what you can do with what you have ready? So obviously you have your ideas. Obviously you've been a one-man show, but do they come with like, oh yeah, you know what, Ollie, there's potential for this to go down this route and this route and this route, and we can really make it a much bigger. A bigger thing. Is that also what an agent will do?
Absolutely. So we have like brainstorming sessions because they'll ask me as well because cool. It's where do I want to go? What do I want to do? And I think I'm probably one of the oldest on the books, so they do have quite a lot of like young guys that have obviously have created 1 or 2 videos, and now all of a sudden they've blown up, and they probably need nurturing and putting in the right direction. Yeah. I'm the old hat, you see, so like I'm more like lead me to it and then get me in and stuff. But they've given me some fantastic knowledge, advice. So they sort of like audited my account, worked out some tweaks, and it was just small tweaks that, they've given me advice around sort of like you know, as I am a family man, do I want to involve my family a little bit more into it? And which I have started doing, but very naturally. Just, you know, I'm very much, everything I do is going to be food focused, but I want to push out of industries as well. Like I said, nearly a decade in just food. So for me, I'm trying to get into like the music industry. So I want to be like the food guy in the music industry.
That's cool.
So at the moment, I've got my sights set on festivals. And I manifested that at the beginning of the year, and it actually happened. So I got to be on stage at Download Festival, being a compere, running food competitions, and also on the mic, helping my friends who are doing some cooking as well. So
amazing.
That was amazing. And yeah, that was even though, and that was actually, I didn't get paid for that. That was probably the highlight of my career.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Bit of a refreshment, really.
Yeah, like I'm not motivated by money. Money's great, but it's more. I'm a creative, so if I get the right creative, you know, thing, like I'm quite. If we talk about brand deals, a little funny off-subject one was like, you know, like as a baked bean company that wanted to work with me for ages, and it hasn't been right. The budget's not been right. They released a sticker, and I was like, oh my god, can I have a sticker? And they'd sent me a sticker, like because I've got like a cooler, and I put stickers all over it. It just really interested me. Do you know what I mean? So like, rather than like, you know, sorry, you know, if my agency are listening, you probably destroyed all, you know, any brand collaborations because I've skipped you and gone and got a sticker instead. But you know, it was cool. So for me, passion projects and things that I'm generally interested in are what really fuels me. So for me, being on stage, being able to create like it was only a hot dog eating contest, but it was in front of thousands. And we got the crowd hyped, and it was so much fun. I'm really into like metal music, really into alternate culture. So to align everything of my interest into one place was super fun. And so I'm hoping to, you know, get more into that and then start interviewing like bands and DJs all around food. And, you know, because it's such a great subject matter, isn't it? We're here today talking about food.
Yeah, completely.
And everyone wants to talk about it. So that'd be cool, to sit down, munching on some fried chicken or a kebab with like some famous like musicians, talking about that would just be a dream.
Sounds great. Do you do sometime like some meeting with your followers? Like, I don't know, I will be next week at this festival doing some
like
food.
A meet and greet, yeah. I haven't done a meet and greet. It's something I've started, getting noticed out and about, which is quite surreal. Like I'll just be like shopping, and like someone just come up to me and be like, "Are you Ollie Eats?"
Are you Ollie?
Yeah. Or they're like, "I really like your videos," and I'm like, "Oh, and yes, it sort of takes me aback a little bit. I need to sort of get used to it, because this is the thing that's like, it might just be my day off. I might be tired in the supermarket, but obviously they like people that watch me. Used to seeing a certain level of energy in my videos, and also they know so much about me because I document it all. And obviously they're a stranger to me, so they're like, "Hey," it's once when they don't. If they say like, "Hey, are you Ollie Eats?" I know where they've come from, but it's when they're like, "Hey, Ollie, how you doing?" I'm like, "Are you a person from school? Are you like?" I was a hairdresser for 18 years locally. Like, you know, "Are you a friend of my wife's?" And I forgot your name. You know, like, "How you doing?" And I have to sort of like pry like questions out of them, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, you follow me? Okay, yeah." And then I'm like, "Oh yeah, so what do you like?" And then going into that, but it is cool. And I probably want to do like a meet and greet, but I'd like want to get like put on events, and I want to start getting into sort of like those types of things. And it's really cool meeting people, and it's. You know, it's nice to meet people that you're following, and you know, hear their feedback, hear what they like and stuff like that. It's cool. It's surreal. It's this year's definitely been like an accelerator year for me. So I've like jumped a few levels, and I'm still trying to get used to it. Like I said, you know, I've got an agent now, start getting recognised. Yeah, it's weird. But it is cool. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's cool. I should play it cool, you know, be like, yeah, you know, whatever. But no, it is cool.
And so how do you handle now that you're being recognizable in the street? Or as you say, it's very new to you, but like, how do you feel about it? Are you already being more and more recognized in the street?
Yeah, I think I am. Like, it was really interesting. My wife had a good conversation. She's not really into social media, and she's my sort of like, she grounds me. She just, you know, it's a really good partnership. And you know, she's out and about. Like, I went to Legoland yesterday, and within 5 minutes, someone had stopped me. Like, and she had a nice chat with me. She was like, "Are you ready for the next stage?"
Yeah.
Because that next stage, there probably isn't any going back. At the moment, you could probably fade, and you could probably fade over time. But like, what she's saying is just sort of like, "Are you okay with this?" Like, because this is only becoming more and more frequent. Because she's spotting it from like an outsider.
Of course.
And then I think that I think the only thing I'll probably end up missing a little bit is being able to fully relax. Do you know what I mean? Like let your guard down at all times. You have to make sure you're dressed and not in your pajamas or something like that. Those types of things. But no, I think that the level that I would end up getting to would be still 100% very manageable. But it'll probably just be 2 or 3 people stopping me in Tesco's saying hello. It's kind of where it's at the moment. But I think it's awesome. Like I think that it's and I'll do the same to other creators. I think creators are the new. I hate I don't see myself as a celebrity. And what does a celebrity even mean? But I think that's what people are looking up to now. Like for me, my target demographic and what I set out to do is inspire sort of like late sort of 30-year-old dads into barbecuing and getting in the kitchen and having fun and doing things and recapturing their youth and stuff like that. So to meet those people in person, to see them having fun and doing the things that I'm doing, I think that's really cool. It's sort of setting out to what I want. And I just think I just want people cooking in some way, shape or form, and I think it's a dying art and from a home perspective, and I want to see more people do it, basically.
I completely agree with you. I mean, it is a dying art, and there's less and less people cooking. I don't know now. Maybe there's a bit of a recently a bit of a switch because of social media and all these people doing inspirational stuff at home or even in the commercial kitchen, giving up their recipes and kind of giving that motivation to cook at home. But it is harder and harder because we have less and less time for ourselves, and we are, got jobs. We're more and more enticed to go, on our phone. We're shown a lot of, you have to be fit. You have to be going to the sport. You have to do sports. You have to exercise. So you go do your run. So I believe we have less and less time. And it's so easy to order online nowadays, It
is, yeah.
And you're so tempted with images everywhere, and you're just, why should I cook at home? No, I can buy this, and this is so good. And should I treat myself? And I've had a bad day, and okay, I'll treat myself. But yeah, no, I cook less and less, to be honest. It's really weird, and I love cooking.
If you want to cook more, you have to watch Ollie's Eats video.
I do.
Yes, it's very interesting. So I had this conversation with one of my followers. He wrote something. It was a bit of a negative feedback, which is completely justified. But he was just sort of like, Ollie, you've really started doing simple recipes, and I don't know if I like them. Like why are you not doing your big showstoppers? And like the data shows that I've started doing like a little mini series called Load of Fries, and it's normally just got 3 or 4 ingredients on the top, and they are outperforming everything. And I think that is that like what I'm inspired to. Like I would spend 4 days cooking a piece of meat and love the whole entire process. People don't want to cook for more than 30 minutes in an air fryer. And that's cool, but that's just their proximity. Like that's what I love doing. People love other things I don't want to do. So I think I want to inspire people. It's that baby steps, it's that stepping stone into actually just starting to buy ingredients. And if I can inspire them just to start cooking, then I can inspire them to then start looking at ingredients later on down the line.
For sure.
And probably the same with you guys and definitely myself. Like I love high quality ingredients. I love the sustainability. I love where it's sourced, the story, all of those types of things. But also in this climate that we're in, that's not necessarily always the case. Now, combined, we've got the vast amounts of knowledge to understand about portion controls and utilizing seasonal vegetables, and we could probably create amazing home menus for a fraction of the prices. But having the mental capacity to do that without that educational background, like I said, I've got a decade of cooking, granted only from home, but and going to restaurants, and I've got that energy and that incentivization, and I'm incentivized to do that. If someone's just trying to put a dinner on the table for their family, that is a lot of energy. So what I try and do with a lot of my content is go, right, this is a pre-cooked, like slow cooked bit of meat, put that with this and you've got yourself a hot meal. And then have fun, because I think the fun is the root of everything. Like if you have fun with something, you want to do it more. So
of course,
find that passion. That's how I did. It was fry ups, it was chilies, it was hungover food, it was big pasta bakes, really simple stuff. But then I was like, I'm going to use a different cheese. And then that's that stepping stone that I'm trying to encourage people to do. Like, I love it when everyone's like messaging me going, like, "Oh, that was an awesome recipe, but like, I've done it with XYZ." And they're like, "Do you mind?" I was like, "No, this is exactly what I've set out to do. Like, I want you to hack my recipes because I've hacked someone else's recipe. You know, like that's what the intention is.
Yeah.
You know, if I can just get people to, you know, rather than pick up a microwave meal and just do something fun themselves. You know,
of course. Get creative.
Get creative.
Great.
Yeah.
Get creative. Yeah.
And not to forget that not everyone has a local market next to where they live. They only probably have like a Tesco's or Sainsbury's, and that's what I love about your videos is you can get creative with what you have next door. Not everyone has time to go shopping as well.
Yep.
So especially living in the city, yes, you have every shops and everything, but you're so busy with your day-to-day, do's
Life.
that sometimes when I go back home, I take the train and arrive in Deptford. The only thing that's open is a Tesco's, and sometimes when it's Tesco's, I'm like, what should I eat? I want something cool, not just to open it and put it in the oven or microwave. I want to, create something, and that's where it's quite cool with your videos. Is with what they have, you can actually just put 4 ingredients together, and have fun.
And that's how I learnt to cook.
Yeah.
So that's what I sort of like teach, and then for the level above that, it's like using alternate cuts of meat. I think that I try and educate around steak in particular.
Yeah.
Everyone if you're a meat eater, steak's high on the priority list of what you want to eat. But there's so many amazing cuts at a lot cheaper prices.
Of course.
But then you've got the other things. You're looking at getting a bit deep on the sort of like economical demographics of supermarkets. Unfortunately, and this is just through education. The higher economical demographic of a supermarket, will sell more alternate, cheaper cuts of meat. The lower will sell only premium ones because it's down to this. They've worked out over a percentage of how many people understand those cuts and if they're going to sell or not. And I just think what I want to try and do is go right. This cut of meat, super cheap. Go and get it. Cook with it. You don't need to go and buy fillet or ribeye.
Yeah, for sure.
Use this instead.
It's so smart that you think about that because it's on thought of in that sense. So it's
and then doing something again. It's taking that because what I find is that, and there's so many amazing chefs and people out there preaching fantastic, very very high value things, but they're steering in a way that again is that because I used to see it, and there was a friend that told me this about mental capacity. Is that people know that they need to eat more vegetables. People know that they need to do this, but it's having that. Like you said, when you get off the train, you're in that shop and you're like, I don't have the capacity to come up with these things. So they'll go, right, take this alternate cut of meat and then cook it over fire with all of these random ingredients, and then you've lost them at that point. Yep. So what I'm saying is take this, you might have to go somewhere like a higher-end supermarket or a butcher's. It will weirdly be cheaper than using your local supermarket, but then take it home, whack it in the air fryer, cover it in cheese, and it's having that link and going, you haven't got to compartmentalize everything. If anything, it's about bringing everything together. Find alternate ingredients or seasonal or more sustainable, whatever you're in your ethos. But then use the utilities that you have close to you, like an air fryer or a microwave. Like it's in my strapline. It's microwave to Michelin star. I'm into all foods, and there's always a time and a place. And was it Michael Pierre White when his last interview was saying what his favourite meal is, and it's something like a sandwich. Like when he gets home, it's nothing. And even the interview was like, oh, I didn't even think. You think they're going to say something grand,
crazy, or
Well, I know. I guess chefs, they see that on a daily basis, and this high-end food. I guess the simple little food back home when you're tired and you just want just a cheese sandwich. I don't know.
I think it was a cheese and ham sandwich with piccalilli.
Yeah, there you go.
That's good.
And that was his the dish that is the most emotional connection he has.
Yeah. And coming back to what you said at first, you said there's the simplest thing that are the hardest to cook.
Yeah.
Because you want that to be done at your perfect taste, and probably does it, and it's just really nice, but it's so simple.
Yeah, I think the one thing I do really preach, and I'm struggling with, but I definitely want to happen, is cook to temperature, not time. So it's a small little thing, but it will, as soon as when the penny drops, it blows people's minds that their chicken's never dry anymore or their steak's perfect. So just a little meat thermometer, and there's so many on the market, and just probe that temperature, take it to exactly how it should be, and you're in for just the best food of your life
Oh,
all the
that's
time.
good advice.
Yeah, just cook to temperature, not time.
That's good. Now, I just wanted to say, so just before finishing the podcast, I just wanted to ask you the last question.
Yes.
What's the next project for Holy Hits?
Oh,
For the next
good, man.
years?
What is the next project? So I would say, yeah, the timing's sort of gone crazy on this, but like, yeah. So one thing I didn't really talk about is like cooking over fire. Cooking over fire is something that I absolutely love, and it's something that I'm going to be doing a lot more of.
Okay.
So becoming more primitive, I would say, is the sort of the project.
A new series, maybe?
New series, yeah. I've got. So I love cooking throughout winter as well. So I'm outside all the time, and that's sort of the connection that I've got. Like I said, I do the fun stuff in the kitchen, but I also get outside and cook as well. But yeah, a lot more open fire cooking demos, and again, there's a lot of misinformation and taboos around barbecuing, and I'd like to sort of break that. And there's a lot of elitism in that as well, because I think a lot of people spent years offline learning the trade, learning everything about it, and then they jumped online and then all of a sudden they were a barbecue person. And it's like actually it's teaching that basics and going back to those basics is something that I want to sort of like focus on as well.
Nice.
But yeah, I want to get people in the kitchen cooking.
Good.
That's great.
It's a question that probably many people would want to know, but when you have a partnership, which is the highest amount of a partnership that you get? Obviously, you don't need to tell the brand, but it's just to give a bit of an image of how much you can charge as a food influencer. So your highest, not income, but how would you say it? Partnership
So
deal,
like
I
also
guess?
like a brand deal that I've
brand
had,
deal, yeah.
So they get broken down. So you can make thousands from posts.
Okay.
So it's normally depending on what they're wanting. Like I said, earlier about the exclusivity rights, but yeah. If you've got a large account and you're creating big campaign for clients, you can charge good few £1,000s for a simple video. But you can monetize lower end as well. Like I said,
of course.
it will start off with the odd gifts at a couple of thousand, and then you can start charging. And start bringing in a nice little side hustle very early on. So I think social media is misrepresented and also has a bad image. And granted, there's a lot of bad eggs in there, but I'm out here as well trying to create a newer light on it and inspire people to cook, document it, get out there, get into their local areas, get to their local shops, enjoy hospitality in its best form, and take photos of your dinner.
There you go. I think
Amazing,
that finishes it quite
I
well.
wanted to ask for last advice, but I think you just done it.
Holly, thank you very much for coming in. And,
Thank you very much, Ollie.
Being on the podcast. Hopefully, some of the advices and stories that you've had will inspire many, younger or even older. You never know. You might just want to take some pictures as well to start up with, and especially start cooking at home more often. But guys, thank you again for listening to our podcast. Give us a little review or like a comment on our social media and also on Spotify and Apple podcast. And we'll see you for the next episode.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow Ollie Eats.
Oh yeah, especially you don't follow.
Follow Ollie Eats, and I'll share this podcast too.
Thank you guys again. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And, thank you again, Holly.
Thank you.
The Hospitality Podcast.